Gonna take you up on them, text you at random points of the day and be like,
Do it.
Hack me.
Do it. I'll hack you to pieces. I'm fucking violent.
Hi, and welcome to the Inner Moxie Podcast, the podcast about not one, but two neurodivergent adults trying to live their lives on the Neuro-D list and not hate themselves in the process. I'm your host, Ronnie.
And I'm Danny.
And this week, we are talking about neurodiversity in the workplace.
Yep. All right. Well, should we enter Moxie-meter mode?
I can't think of a single reason not to.
How about that airplane?
Maybe that helicopter.
Oh, it's a helicopter?
Sounds like it.
I can't tell.
I used the term ghetto bird with my daughter, and she had no idea what I was talking about.
I mean, I've never heard that. And it sounds racist too, actually.
Maybe a little. It's a police helicopter.
Yeah, but all right. So meter it Moxie-wise.
Okay. Let's see. I am feeling pretty good. I had a pretty bad crash on Saturday. Not
in a car.
No. Emotionally, I don't want to get into too many details, but I've told you my son has autism, and he had a particularly bad breakdown, and that involved a lot of yelling, and somebody walking by the house heard that and called the cops. And so I had the cops show up at my door, which not the first time that it happened. And I know it's something maybe we've discussed briefly, never, but I don't automatically hate police, but I'm not fond of them either. I am very, luckily I live in a city where, I've lived in a lot of cities where I have problems with things the police have done. The city I live in now, the police have yet to I've yet to see them take advantage. So that's a good thing. But either way, I'm sure you can imagine, nobody wants to see the cops show up at your door to investigate.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad, but we got it calmed down from there. And then me and my son played Fortnite all weekend long. And I'm not a particularly huge Fortnite guy, but my kids love it. And so it was cool just to do that. And that brought me up, and now I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm going to give it I'll give it a 4. Why not?
4 out of 5.
Oh, no, 40. I'm going to the 40-point scale now. No. Yeah,
okay,
5.
you can.
No, 4 out of 5.
Okay, 40 out of 50. Got it. I can do that in math real quick.
Yeah, we'll go with it. 40 out of 50. That's my...
Great, you got a lot of points. Cool.
But how about you? How are you feeling?
I don't know. As I've disclosed, a lot of things have happened in rapid succession. I guess you could say it that way, or I can. And I am having a hard day. Not sadness wise.
Okay.
Not this is another side note. I realized that I've been curious. So over the weekend, I kind of just shut in. I wanted to and needed to. It's a hard month for me. It's not, I'm sitting and crying and whatever. I just needed to be on my own schedule and not be beholden to anything.
Yeah.
And just do what I wanted to do. And if that included, it's open to, if I feel like asking someone if they want to go get lunch or whatever, I can do that, but I don't want to set that up.
Right.
Because I know that I need extra time to myself. Anyways, and I didn't feel like doing that. And one of the things I wanted to look up was, how it was really hard to figure out or find what typical people's emotions are like. And I don't even know that it's just typical people, right? Neuro-Ds have different ways that emotional expression is, expressed, felt, etc. And I've just been feeling very much like I don't necessarily think I have the full range, which I'm not upset about. It's just a fact.
The full range of emotions.
Right.
Okay.
Like, I know how to recognize emotions on faces. Mm-hmm. Learned how to do it, whatever. Worked with a lot of clients on that stuff, But as far as feeling them, I don't know. And I was in a situation about a week and a half ago where I was basically told, it's all bubbling under the surface. Like, you are repressing da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, okay, this is this person's opinion of my emotional state, And then since this person does have a little bit of say-so.
Okay. Well, that was too. I was going to ask, was this just like Joe Blow off the street?
Oh, I don't give a fuck about Joe Blow.
Yeah.
Like, no one, most people, it doesn't permeate, right? This person, there's a little bit of that. So I did a little bit of reflecting, and I was like, the level of just like right path goodness that I feel on the stuff that I'm doing, like, I don't think that that's accurate. Mm-hmm. I could see how that could look that way, but also people give their opinions because they are their opinions and they are projecting whatever it is that is going on for them. Not everybody is super emotional. Like, I have more of like a computer type, I've had many emotional explosions, less so in my adult life.
Well, I should hope that'd be the same for everybody.
True. Right. You learned regulation. But
although I may cry if I shit my pants in front of everybody.
I will just laugh if I do that and be like, well, it's gonna smell and I'm uncomfortable. But I think
I thought you meant laugh at me.
I characteristically, if someone gets hurt in my presence, even if they're not thinking it's funny, that's my initial reaction. It's nothing to do with empathy, because I do feel bad, and I bet they are embarrassed. Like, I could understand all that, but I probably would still laugh, unfortunately. I don't know why. It's just like, anyway, it's not. So I realized my spectrum of emotion, it varies. So it used to always be between more so irritation and like varying levels of that over to excitement and varying levels of that. Happiness, I don't know. Sadness, like, I do get sad if someone dies and I can't talk to them again.
Really quick, you don't know when you're feeling happiness, or you don't know, or because you said happiness, I don't know. So is that like you don't know what happiness is?
Not in the way that people express it. Like,
okay.
Like, okay, for talking about Inside Out or whatever, like, most of those emotions I don't know about. Like, for me, I feel it as like I am varying levels of excited about something and varying levels of irritated about things. And even when I thought that I felt real, true anger, it was an amplified version of what irritation feels like for me. Not necessarily how people describe anger, like blind with rage, never happened. Euphoria, I can cognitively understand it. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just like new to me, but I'm just like, okay, so that was one rabbit hole that I went down, which doesn't make me sad or happy or whatever. Obviously, I just said I don't even know what those are. But maybe, I don't know. I've just learned anyway. Just a lot of contemplative things in March. Today was a hard day. And it's sensory wise, like it's we're talking about work today, and it's good. And I think I've said this on here, I'm sure I have, that I'm consciously unmasking in my real life, work wise, personal life, whatever. And it's like almost like a switch you can't undo, at least for me. And sensory stuff has been really getting to me in the last 2 weeks, to where it feels impossible. Like at work, like the walls are so thin in my office and I can hear everything, and it's impossible for it to actually be louder, but it feels louder. And And I was talking to Robin before we started, our producer. Yeah. And she was like, that's an effect of unmasking. It's like, you know, when someone's in war, they can do all the things you need to do in war. And then when they come home, it starts bleeding out, you know, the negative effects. So it's kind of like that. Like I don't have PTSD, but in the process of unmasking about certain things, you know, sensory things, talking about it, and medication is great.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe I just need to have an uppage in my dose or something. I don't know. But it just has been stably more pronounced to where it feels almost intolerable. And like I experienced that in my body as just like a million nails on a chalkboard all over everywhere, just like going like this. And it's intolerable. And I feel that often all the time and just repress that feeling because I know that, you know, I can't act out on that.
Right.
However that looks. You know, I definitely am spatially just like I do things like, you know, I write really hard. Like I go through shoes pretty quick. Like I'm just like an intense, I don't know, what is that? Sense of touch? I don't know. Just like very, so I don't know. It's just been very pronounced lately and I don't love it.
Yeah. And I'm sure, you know, I know you're starting to look into autism spectrum stuff. But even on the ADHD end of things, which again is something we both know we both have, in addition to what else is an ongoing thing. But and it's something I don't think they talk about much. The ADHD sense of overwhelm is real. It's very like flooding is the best term I can use for it. There's too many thoughts inside my brain. There's too many emotions inside my body. There's just too much. And it's very like, I don't know how else to explain it except for you're like trying, like it's like trying to hold a gallon of water without a jug, like in your hands and everything's just falling through. Yeah. So yeah, that I feel for you there. That I know gets very, very real.
It does. And it hasn't happened in a sensory way in a while. And I think it's because I've been talking about stuff pertaining to like where in the building that my office is in. You know, I'm grateful that I have a door to close. You know, not everybody does. Yeah. But there's a lot of trainings and things that happen over there which are loud. And there's one bathroom. So many strangers, as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, we train lots of people. They all go work out in the field. You know, we don't see them often. If at all, again. You know, I don't. Anyway.
Right. They're not important humans. No.
They're terrible. No. They're just people that I don't know. And that, for me, has to do with my ability to share a bathroom. And letting those things come out a little bit. I think this is a big part of this, which it's not a sound thing, but it's, I don't know. The hyper focus on those things specifically is there now and hard to ignore. And even today, it wasn't even like a terrible day, but like everything just seemed so much louder. And this was not before, you know, the Adderall extended release had worn off yet. There's no reason that it should be more pronounced. Nothing literally happened to the walls and nothing. You know, so a few things I did do about this. Last week, I emailed my psychiatrist to see if there's accommodations that I could get. So I talked to a nurse and then I followed up with that today. And then I put in there too, I want to initiate the ASD diagnosis process. Because earlier...
Because we need more content. No.
We do. That's the only reason why. I was just like, I'm at a loss. Like this doesn't make sense as to why this is just like blowing up in my face right now. I don't want to work completely remotely. It doesn't jive with me. I like to have that flexibility. in general, if I have something I have to focus on, like without interruptions, I have to work at home because people are always, I'm interrupted enough, like on, IMs or whatever. And there's things I do have to answer, but like no drop-ins, that makes a difference.
Well, and too, I don't say this, it is very strange. And I don't know, not everything is a neuro-D thing. Some things are just different humans do differently.
Right.
But I know work, I don't even want to call it a skill or an ability, but working at home is just something that different people have different capacities for.
Right.
I know people that are much smarter and probably more dedicated, definitely have their shit together a lot more, that need a schedule set by somebody else, that need a place away from the place where they actually exist. But yeah, I have my work desk at home, and I don't I'm not a guy, there's no video games on my work computer. I have a different computer for that.
Yeah.
I'm a man rich in computer. No, I have a nice work computer and I have, shitty regular computer. But yeah, if I'm sitting there, and me and my wife, she works a lot from home. She's and works a lot out in the field. So if she's there, I put headphones on, and not even that stuff's going into them. It just feels more like I'm at work that way.
Yeah.
But I know that's not the case for everybody. I know some people who've tried work at home jobs similar to mine where you pick your own hours. And if you're left to pick your own hours, you pick 0 hours, or you try and end up getting like 10 hours in on the last day of your schedule or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just working at home, people have different capacities for
sure. And it depends on your living situation.
Yeah.
If I was if I had another human living at my house and they were at home or also worked from home or something, I probably would go to the office a lot more because there would be less distractions there, because it's a different type of distraction, depending on what that other person is doing at home. Some people can give you your space, and some, the two most three, like the last 3 times anyone was in my space during work hours, there's just more time for interruptions, personal stuff, and I'm just like, but I'm working, I'm very rigid about that. I don't want to talk about or do non-work things during work hours.
It's a hyper-focus thing.
And interruptions of it all, but luckily only my cats, and today they're driving me up the fucking wall too, and I was on a Zoom meeting. Thankfully it was just 3 people who know me fairly well, but I dropped some F-bombs yelling at my cats, and one of them I looked back, I was like, oh, this is so unprofessional. Which they know me, I push the bar as low as I can with professionalism, because fuck all of that. Do not call me miss anything. Do not, I don't care.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, miss. No, misses. Fuck it all. I want to be as unprofessional as possible because I don't feel comfortable in that way. And I know that I sound very professional sometimes on here. It just depends on the content of what I'm talking about. But I like to, anyway, I was like, I knew I crossed the line, which
you
my
also
line
say
is also
afternoony on here. So
true.
There's that as well.
True. There's a balance. I think that's what, keeps them coming back for more. But, just yelling at my fucking cat. He does stuff that drives me nuts. And today, he was just trying to knock shit off the walls like he tries to do. And I was telling you off camera, I have had a very verbally violent day. No means no intent, but I told Ferratu many times, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to shoot you, which I mean with water, because I have a water gun, because I have no other way to shoot him or desire to shoot him with anything else.
Yeah, well, plus it wouldn't work. Nosferatu can't be killed with a gun.
True, thank God.
I will throw you in the sunlight, cat.
Yeah. Out you go. But I mean, I realized that, even though these people that I know in this meeting might have been a little shocked by some of that, I can only imagine what the neighbors think, because you can hear kind of a little bit what's going. My office quote, it's a desk in a corner that I share the wall with the hallway.
Is it the one that we did the?
Yes.
Yeah. So
right there.
Yeah, go to the YouTube channel and you can see.
Yeah.
Zanny's wonderful office.
Yeah. But you can hear what's going on in the hallway, and they can hear a little bit. So I'm like, oh God, they think I'm gonna fucking kill everything in my house.
Right.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I've always kind of had a verbally violent way of talking. Sometimes during that. So that's a more medium to high level of irritation. Okay. But it's all that shared feel. I don't know. There's just so much of that happening right now. Lots of little things.
Let me ask you this. Where are you
on a scale?
No.
Because I haven't done that yet.
Oh, guess not, huh?
No. But what was your real question?
Where are you on actual violence?
0.
Okay.
Like I definitely I squeeze things hard. I do slam cabinets sometimes, and it's mostly not even conscious. In times where I've had to mask super fucking hard, and this one when I was married and towards the end when things were bad.
Right.
Silently screaming in my head, and not self-harm, but just manhandling stuff, just a little harder than needed to. Just there's that sensory piece in there. I need a lot of sensory input and then sometimes output. I probably should join fuck CrossFit. The punchy one.
Boxing?
They need to teach me how to do that, because this is not how you do it.
Yeah, but if you walk up to somebody on the street doing this, you might avoid a fight altogether.
Maybe they're like, oh, we'll call the white coat people for you. Yeah, something like that where I need that kind of a release, but not an actual. But
you're not
violent threat.
Somebody calls you a bitch, you're not going to go to fisticuffs.
No, I actually get very intrigued. I mean, no one's actually, to my knowledge, called me a bitch to my face, which is a shocker because I'm so blunt, but I also just don't attend to things. So if a few times I've been in a situation where someone has gotten in my face and I just kind of, and not even just you're a fucking da 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 da. It's someone is very upset. So I'm just oh, this person is angry. Let them wear themselves out / they'll get to the point of what's going on eventually. So, cause it's not I've never been verbally abused like that.
Right.
Where someone is cussing me out. That's never happened to me, thankfully. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I'm a flight freeze.
Gotcha.
For sure. Not a fight.
I'm very much the same way. And even things I'm a pretty big peacenik as things go. I kind of despise real violence.
You're wearing a Mortal Kombat shirt. So.
I know. Well, I love, as my podcast indicates, I love fantasy violence. That is, and that's kind of like when you're talking about using violent language, it always, to me, it feels like that's almost more artistic. That is,
calling I can't even say it on air. Maybe we'll bleep it out or not put it in, but I call him to a fucking terrorist all the time. That's terrible. Should not say that on air. Not great. I feel terrorized though by him sometimes, which is how I mean that. But that anyway,
I don't think there's anything.
My neighbors have I don't know what they think, and I don't really care. I just think it's funny.
I'll add the word domestic.
No, don't do that. I mean, yeah, they're my domestically domicile house cats that are fucking terrorizing me all the time sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're just cats. They're perma 2-year-olds. Okay. This is never going away. It's my own balance. And I think there's been too many things tipping the scales, rapid change. Okay. Finding out about I'm now going to be saying arrow ace because I identify more with the arrow versus the ace. I mean, they're both, but like arrow is the most prominent, I think, for me. And just so many things. Like it's been a very quick Renaissance period.
Right.
And even today, just like rapid firing, like, oh my God, like all of these like revelations and things are coming. And it's just, I think, all becoming a bit much.
Right.
So,
and then, you know, surviving your day-to-day life is a thing you also have to throw in there.
Yes. So I think I will. I mean, I do have hybrid written into my contract. I can use it more. And I think now I actually have to. Mm-hmm. I would like these accommodations on paper, just as a safety net. Not that I would need it. No one's questioning where I am or what I'm doing. I produce. That's the main thing. I thrive on independent work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I get my shit done. Well,
also, one of the things about you, like, if, you know, for those watching, we have these nifty little printouts that you just started making every week. Mm-hmm. You do thrive on having a plan and having things in place. And that feels, getting those accommodations ready for when you need them, is just a smart thing to do. But it feels, it actually, ironically, kind of feels like the thing that might make you not need those accommodations even more.
Exactly. No, totally. You know, I just need... that part just makes me feel better. But I think I would be doing myself a disservice if I were to just subject myself to a situation. Like tomorrow I'm not going in because there's a training and now those things are louder. Thursday I do have to go in, but I don't know. My ideal would be like going 10 to 2 every day.
Okay.
And work before and after at home. That would be perfect for me. It doesn't always shake out like that. You know, there's also tasks involved. I can bank some stuff up. I don't always want to... I don't want to spend 36 hours at home, you know, in a row. I don't know. But with the sensory stuff, that's like next level. And I can at least control a bit more at my house versus at the office. And like, it's just so bad. And like, I have headphones, but I can't listen to anything with words when I'm focusing on stuff. So it has made it very challenging to figure out what to listen to. Like, do I listen to a fucking, like, dimensional sound?
Now, when you say you can't listen to anything with words, do you mean, like, lyrics or...
Anything.
Okay. So like, because at first I thought you meant, like, audiobooks or podcasts, but you can't even listen to, like, music that has words along with it.
No, because if I'm focusing on words, reading them, because I have many different things that I do. If I'm just, like, responding to stuff and checking emails and stuff, I can have whatever on. Like, I consume, like, documentary-style things as... podcast. Basically, I don't need to sit there and stare at it. I can just hear it. So I can do that kind of stuff when I'm doing those kinds of things, like the lighter things. But like if I have to focus on something, if I'm absorbing new content, trying to teach myself something so that I can like share it with the team or, you know, expand this new area or whatever it is, like I can't have any kind of words going. I would prefer silence, but silence is not happening most of the time now in the building that I'm in. So that is a new challenge.
Yeah. Well, and it's a little. How much of it is like we were talking about the neurodiverse thing of always hearing electricity in the walls, and that silence isn't like a real thing. It's more, you know, it's that zero goal we have on the meter. That kind of unobtainable thing. How much? If a neurotypical person was in there, how silent would they say your office is versus how silent you, I don't want to say think or feel it is, because that feels, how much you experience it as?
I don't know.
Okay.
I had someone else in there today and she was like, oh, so-and-so is actually pretty loud today.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, it's not just me. So then that makes me feel even worse though, because then like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think that people are maybe able to block things out better. I mean, I have no idea how to answer your question. Okay. It's just gotten worse. I will take the silence and just hearing it. Like I always have a fan on in there, even if it's cold, just because, I like air moving and I have no windows.
I understand that.
Yeah. And I have blankets if I'm cold.
Yeah, because the fan's always on.
Yes. And yeah, so I have I would like that, like the little sounds of I don't care if like a phone rings, the other people that are in my building all the time are pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a place where people can, clinical people can drop in at any time. They're usually working, but they talk to Annette, they talk to, whoever. Usually it doesn't bother me, but even today that someone came in and was talking to someone who I'm kitty corner office with, but I could hear everything they were saying, which that's happened millions of times before, and it's not a thing. So I don't know. Everything is just magnified. So on my 10-point scale,
okay,
feeling at maybe like a 4.
Okay, so not on the top side, but
no,
but not dangerously low.
No, and this will get better with lots of time. I've already taken advocacy as much as I can, like medically, to get some things in order. Planning out. I'm definitely working from home tomorrow. I have to go into the office at least for a little bit on Thursday, but like knowing that I have this imaginary fear that, the person ahead, like over me, is scrutinizing where I am all the time.
God.
Well, the person that literally works there, founder, all of that, which that's not happening. And I know that cognitively, but there's still that like, but what are they? I don't want any feedback about any of that. Like, where are you? I'm at home because I have a hybrid schedule written into my contract and I need to focus. I don't want to have to explain myself. I think that's maybe more of what it is. I don't know. It's not a negative, it's not a spiral necessarily. I just feel like pushed to the literal edge within my head, within my body, within like my senses. And I just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Yeah, that's a tough one, but I'm glad you're staying above water.
Yeah, still hopeful. I want to live. Okay? I want to stay on Earth and do some more shit. It's just things are just like really loud and big, and I don't know. So I threw up a bunch of Hail Marys, I guess, or whatever that saying is, and I cast my wide net, and we'll see what I get back. I don't know.
That reminds me of a hack I saw.
Oh.
And I know that sounds like I'm transitioning on purpose.
Hacksaw?
Yes. That reminds me of a hacksaw. I don't think that's how you use a hacksaw.
I don't know. Very clearly not actually violent. Don't know how to actually do violence. I could just say it like I mean it.
No, it was, and like I came into this episode, we're going to do a segment on a couple of hacks, and I had a couple of hacks I want to bring up. This is not one of them, but what you just said made me think about time. There's I'll have to look them up. There's a couple I follow on the TikTok.
The Yabba Gabba of the internet?
Yes.
Call back to my own stupid joke. I laugh at all my inside jokes in my head all the time, so I'm entertained.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I think that if you could bring laughter into this world, then bring it in. Yeah. Even if it's only you.
Yeah, I'm happy. Actually, I don't know that. I don't fucking know anything. I don't know anything, and that's how I feel. I'm a 4.
You're very, very Operation Ivy of you.
I don't know about much of them.
One of their
band.
Big song. Yeah, one of their big songs is All I Know Is That I Don't Know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we're brain siblings.
Yeah. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. A hack I found just on time. It's a TikTok couple I follow. The husband is neurotypical, I believe. The wife is ADHD. And I believe they have a son that has autism. But it's mostly just content between the two of them. And one of the things he started doing is instead of saying, hey, we have to leave in 5 minutes because she, the one with ADHD, that will mean nothing to her. She will okay, I'll hop in the shower because 5 minutes feels like this undiscernible amount of time.
Yeah.
He'll say, hey, we have to leave in 300 seconds. And then she'll be like, oh, I got to get my shoes on now. We're leaving and time is already passed. It's not even 300 seconds anymore.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, to me, 300 seconds sounds like a really long time. 5 minutes, like I'm very good at knowing how many minutes are when I have to do anything routine based.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. Oh. If I am not looking at my watch, if I look at my watch and let's say it's 9:00, the next time I look at my watch, it could be anywhere from 9:30 to 9:05. And that seems in the acceptable realm of how time works to me. Huh. Or how time flies. And regardless of what I'm doing. I mean, I still have the thing, obviously, boredom makes things go slower. Having a good time makes things go faster. I'm not that out of whack with it. But as a general, like my general day-to-day life, I routinely check my watch. I routinely check time structures around me. Just because, I have no gauge on, I have no internal clock whatsoever.
Yeah. And I think my internal clock is just leaving because I used to have one. I mean, there's a lot about that, like maybe a little bit of ASD type things, but also my dad was very like, we have to be everywhere 15 minutes early or we're late. Mm-hmm. So that really stuck with me. And plus, once I became an entry level ABA provider, you have session times, and this was all in homes. So being at a person's house, like I could, take a little nap in my car or whatever, set a timer, but like getting to that person's house exactly at the time I'm supposed to be there, like just stuff like that. So like I've had situations like that, like someone being late to something used to drive me so crazy, even if it's something that it doesn't matter. Like there would be such intense irritation and anxiety, and I would feel like I would explode if I knew that we had to be at a family party at, it starts at 2:00. And it's like, okay, but I learned, in my ex's family, like, 2:00 is like a soft opening time, but things don't kick off for a little while after that. So like, but there was still that level of anxiety about getting there at 2, like, cause that's the time you have to be there. That's what it says. Like, so, I mean, letting go of some of that rigidity was good. And then now I don't know how, but this is recent. And I wonder if it has to do with like consciously unmasking. Like, is it really just like, I don't know. I have no idea.
I will say like cause like I have, I have no internal sense of time. But I do put a lot of value on time and what time it is. But a large part of that is because of schedules and routines, which are a big way I cope with the regular world. And so like, I know for me, if there's probably a 15-minute window where if I don't take my medication, then I'm not going to take my medication that day because I missed the window.
My window is not that, because it's not just ADHD medication. I also have to take estrogen every day, and I have to take that till I'm 50, because if you take that, and well, you don't have to. I could get off of it right now if I wanted to, but in order to get the benefits and get me to natural menopause age is why I need to take it every day. And I forget what the oncologist said, but there was a reason for it. Right. And I was like, that sounds smart. Let's go with that. I don't know. Okay. So you had that hack.
Oh, and yeah, the hack that I had pre-planned out today. And I don't know, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Sometimes I don't know if this is specifically for neurodivergent folks or if this is just a general hack. But making my bed is something I don't like to do. I know most people, huge fan of making their beds. Only reason they wake up in the morning.
The British lady in my head absolutely makes her bed.
But this is something I discovered probably in my early 20s. I was like, hey, I can just sleep on top of my comforter And then I just bring a different blanket every time that, if it's cold out, then I put a warmer blanket on top. If it's hot out, and then I can just bring like a sheet.
Yeah.
And then probably, like once a week, I will go smooth my bed sheet out. And I'm like, done. It's a little harder now that I sleep in a bed with somebody else. So that is for those who can still use it. That was my first hack. Because I know sometimes, especially ADHD, some unpreferred tasks are very hard to get done. Mm-hmm. And making the bed could be one of those. Certainly was for me.
Yeah.
But also, like, you don't have to deal with the fucking fitted sheet flipping up over the corner and having to stretch that back out. It's just a better way of life, for everybody and for everybody listening right now. Yeah. Maybe the whole planet. Sleep on top of your comforter.
Yeah.
Much easier.
When I was married, we actually did that. Smart. And then we both had like a blanket that we slept underneath separately because sharing a blanket, sometimes, it sounds romantic, right? You want to be under nothing ever sounds romantic to me, but I'm just like, people really like the idea. Yes, but it's just like in reality, no one wants to fight for sheets, and it's not even like sometimes people just sleep the way they live and just take it all. And
you can't even be mad at them because they're asleep when they do it.
Yeah,
it's like they weren't making a selfish decision.
Right.
This sounds like you're accusing me of stealing the sheets. I'm actually usually the one who gets the sheets stolen. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you can't even be mad about it. It's like, well, yeah, 2 sheets is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And so now I don't even have a comforter though. I have I don't sleep super wildly because of all the cats. Mm-hmm. So I usually just sleep like this, and then someone's on my chest, and then someone else is right here, and then someone else is right here, and then someone is between my legs over the blanket, or sometimes under.
And I think it's worth pointing out that by someone you mean a cat.
Oh yeah, a cat.
Or you are the worst asexual of all time.
Right.
Someone's on my chest, someone's on my side, someone's between my legs.
I mean, the situation called for it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. No, all cats. They're the only someone sleeping in my bed.
You're right.
But yeah, comforters were just frustrating, too hot in general for me. So why?
Yeah.
Why do I have to have one? I don't. So no, goodbye. I don't know if that's a hack. It's just a way of life for me. I usually have hacks, although I'm kind of like bogged down in like my overwhelmedness.
Right.
I have a lot of hacks. Like I showed them a few times ago. Like, I mean, we'll talk about these more when we start talking about workplace stuff, but like I have separate, not even to-do lists. I don't feel like I have to check everything off a list to feel good about myself. And some people do, and that's okay too.
Oh, I am 100% that person. And I have found other people make this sentiment, so I'm glad to know it exists. If I do something that wasn't on a list, I will write it and then immediately check it off just to get that dopamine. I do that
just to show that I've done things. But there's some things where I'm like, this is a goal for today, but then I prioritize them because the list that I have going, like I like it because it's like 15 items long. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like I have to check every box. And that's progress for me because I used to be very rigid about that. But then I'm like, I think I can, I can roll them over and like look back, and I don't want to forget about certain things. It's mostly just like a brain dump of all the things that I actually want to get done. And then once it's out, then I can like move on. And like, I check back often, and then I have a work one too, because they're different tasks. And it helps me like keep progress.
I have a friend who's also ADHD, and she keeps Post-it notes on her refrigerator of the different things so that she can check them off there and then just toss them. Yeah, that's smart too. I wish I can't do anything like that because of fucking cats. They are monsters. They ruin a lot of things for me. But it's helped me adapt, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't feel easier. but it would feel harder without them.
Yeah, no, they are definitely emotional support animals. I don't feel like I own them. I hate that people say they're pet owners. To me, that doesn't feel right. You know, I mean, really, who owns who? And like, if you're putting it in those terms, you don't deserve the animal. If you're really feeling like, I own you,
right?
And cat, like cats are like, fuck you, I own you. Who lives rent free and gets fed? And then if you hurt animals, you're a monster. I just say I will. I will not when I'm talking to my Ferratu, and he's driving me fucking crazy.
You just say you will hurt him, but you would not hurt him.
I would not.
Of course not. Nobody ever. Well, and that's the thing. It's one of the beautiful things. They can't understand you.
Yeah, we don't speak. He doesn't speak English, which is great in that
relationship. Well, yeah, Nosferatu. He's mostly German, I guess.
Transylvanian. Romanian. I think that's the language of the area.
I was gonna say.
I don't know. Okay, so I actually did have a I think actually, so after having listened to last week's episode, it didn't feel like this, but after recording, after talking about religion, I just felt everything was so disjointed and so general.
Right.
That I felt like justice was not done, which right. I don't know what. This is just what was happening in my head.
Right.
But then after I listened to it, I was like, oh, it's pretty cohesive. You know, we weren't saying we were talking about a specific religion. We were just talking in generals. And it actually was pretty good objectively, I think. So, never mind. But I just had a very uncomfortable, like, after that last one. You know, okay. I do also, though, want to say lots of other, you know, ways to go off of that one. You know, religion isn't done for us, I don't think. I think it's just maybe just like the basics, you know, because like I'm really interested in cults. It's just so fascinating, and like coercion, and like I really enjoy like studying like how all of that comes to be, what goes into it, you know. Coercion works, but there's no buy-in, you know, like it's just all so fascinating to me. And I can definitely identify with certain levels of what people who are in cults have gone through, just like the inability to question. Like I've felt that for a lot of years in my life.
Right.
And it does seem so simple. It just seemed like, oh, just leave. Like it's not that simple. And that goes for a lot of other things too, not just cults. Like, you know, people are more forgiving about this now, but anyone that's in a domestic violence situation, it's not so simple as, you know, well, just leave, just go to a shelter, because shelters are fucking booked, isolated from family and friends, mostly by the time someone is thinking about leaving for the most part. You know, and, you know, there's just a lot that goes into it. Financial stability is a big one. You know, it's really hard in the US to make it. Especially on a single income. And if you haven't worked for, or, you know, it's very difficult. And
yes,
so there's just a lot of non-grace there for people.
Yeah. And one I'll add on too, and I think this is, you know, something we talked about when you came out as Arrow Ace is, you are, in our culture and in our society, a domestic partnership, most generally marriage, that is pushed as the way to be. And so while it might not be a charismatic person who knows just what to say, you've nonetheless had, not you specifically, but the general us, we've very much had that pushed into us as the way to be. And so specifically in domestic relationships like that, and when they go sour, you have these old
adages
or ideas that, you know, you have to work to keep them together. And I'm not saying work doesn't go into a relationship. Obviously work goes into a relationship. But there's, you know, I know a bit of a controversial character now, but there's an old Louis C.K. quote that I've always loved. And it was, no marriage ever ended in divorce that shouldn't have ended in divorce. That's just not a thing that's ever happened.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a new term actually. So I've been researching arrow specifically in academic research, and there's shockingly nothing. Basically, there's a few things. There's one article that came out this year, and they mentioned this group actually called, I think it's ARIA. I don't know, AUREA.
Okay.
And it's a arrow specific community. So, there's, AVIN, ACE, all of these things for, asexuals, but like, those things are actually separate constructs, but, put together all the time because, it's already a small box.
Yeah. They're trying to get it all under that umbrella.
Yeah. But
I'll be honest, like until you're bringing it up right now, I kind of think of arrow under the ACE umbrella, and it's not really.
No.
And so thank you for ridding me of that ignorance.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I feel like I'm a little bit better of a person now.
Great. But so I came across this article, which was super cool. And so I looked up their website and emailed to, volunteer. I felt compelled to do so. And the person that wrote me back, her name is very specific. I won't say it because I just don't know if this person would want that. But I was like, are you blah, 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 blah? Because if so, I read your article that came out this year and that's how I found this and da 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 da. And then she wrote back, yes, that's me. And I was like, oh my God. Oh. Which was cool.
Did you get just a little like starstruck?
A little bit. And I would not actually probably feel like that. I've met famous people before. I don't feel like that. I feel like, ugh, God, what am I supposed to talk to you about? Like, I don't know. Go away. But for that, I was like, oh, cool.
Tom Cruise leaves Zanny alone.
Please, for the love of it. Don't talk to me, actually. You are Scientology and I don't love it.
See, religion coming back around again.
Oh, it's invasive. I forget where I was going with that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this was a tangent. I tangented on the ARIA.
Oh,
I learned a new term.
Oh.
I'm probably not going to say this right. It's amatonormativity, AMATO normativity, which is what you were talking about the chronological sequence of life. Yes, basic. It's along the same lines, but it's like the heavy, structural, mainstream way of thinking. You grow up, partner, have a family, blah blah blah, all that shit. So I learned that term. They didn't coin it, but I read it in that article and a few others, and I was like, oh, I never knew about this term, and that's cool. Anyway, that's all. That was a really long tangent just to say that, but that's how being ADHD is, and possibly other things. The Neuro-D is strong with this one today, and I don't even like Star Wars, and I know how to say that. We were talking about Neuro-D in the workplace.
Yep.
/career.
Yes.
And so I kind of figured maybe some general stats. It's not boring or too many.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the stats.
Okay.
I and you know what? I think a lot of folks may.
I hope so. I mean, it does contextualize, if nothing else. But they're kind of all over the place because it's kind of hard to know how many Neuro-Ds there are in the world, but someone claimed to do so. They said 15 to 20% of the world is under the Neuro-D umbrella. Now, here's where the stats get weird to me.
Okay.
In these few places, like this is a huge margin, but okay. 30 to 90% of the Neuro-D community is unemployed. Okay, I'm thinking maybe more around the 50, and this is an average. I don't know where these statistics came from. I wasn't looking that hard, to be honest.
Right.
So grain of salt.
You're not looking at, or just start with the CL, and you don't want to say it.
Also true. But a 60% margin of error is egregious and wouldn't hold up in any court. Would not be a significant finding for anything. It's just a nonsensical number, but you get the idea. A lot of people are not employed and struggle with employment.
Yeah. Okay.
ADHD specifically, 30% are chronically unemployed or struggle with chronic unemployment issues. And 24% of people who are receiving long-term disability qualify for the diagnosis of ADHD.
What was that last one?
24% of people receiving long-term disability
would
qualify for that diagnosis. So I don't know why that means that they don't have it. or maybe it's comorbidity, because there's a mitigating factor for ADHD is, is this in addition to something else, which increases the likelihood that you will not have a job. Like, for ASD, 85% unemployed in the US, for many reasons. This one article that I liked attributes this to employment discrimination, lack of support and accommodations, and then also limited access to training programs, which I find all very fair. But I mean, if you look at or think about your classic quote computer nerd, maybe a little bit awkward, really good at doing whatever it is that their job is, but like interaction with other people is just like bizarre. According to like, if you are a neuro T and not a, that person probably qualifies, or is an, I don't know, as an ASD individual. But that, those kinds of jobs where you can work independently, be really good. If you're hyper focused or you're, limited area of focus happens to be in like computer programming, like perfect. Right. Really easy to do your job that way. Really hard to do other things. So those are basically just the stats, the quick stats. I just love a good number.
No, it's good. And I'll throw this in. It's not a number.
Then I don't want to hear about it.
Okay, it's a 7. But I'm sorry.
It's an H.
I know one of the things that when I was getting assessed for ASD, one of the things that scored against it was that I, at one point in my life, did hold down a job working for somebody, and at one point in my life ran my own company, and now, there's a little amount, but I do a work from home thing now.
And this worked against you?
And that, and that, but it does come, I think it kind of shows that interconnectedness between career and, specifically in this case, ASD, but neurodiversity in general. And it's very weird because it's not like, it seems like you wouldn't do that for other stuff necessarily. You wouldn't be like, okay, well, yeah, you have asthma, but if you don't run, it's not triggered. So you've just found a life where you don't run, so you don't really have asthma. And it's like, I don't understand that. But I guess the kind of point I wanted to throw in with your point is, even I think going at it the other direction, there is this kind of interconnection between neurodiversity and ability to do a job. Yeah.
Which is, I'm glad that you brought it all together at the end, because I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. And that's, someone not keeping up with the latest shit in their scope of work.
Right.
There's a lot of prejudice in that community. When I emailed my doctor to inquire about getting the process started, like, the nurses tend to, screen those, send the, whatever. It's a normal practice at Kaiser. And this was today. The nurse wrote, okay, I will forward now. Can you please tell me the reasons that you think you have autism? And I was like, automatically triggered, but then I was like, maybe they just need to, I just gave the benefit of the doubt, but I was just like screaming and like, I don't know how it only comes to me to say nails on the chalkboard all over my body inside. Like that's like the cringe type, like feeling, right. But it also feels more physical than that. But anyway, that all happened. And I was like, I will go die on this hill. Do not, I can request whatever assessment, assess me for fucking colon cancer right now. They would have to do that.
Yes.
I can advocate for myself and I know that. So, but I was like, no, she probably just wants to know what I think. So I listed out all of the names, the full names of the assessments that I took, indicating the case for autism, and then, in general. And I was like, I don't have to explain my whole life, but like, I think it was just more triggering, like being asked to explain myself, which I've already been confronted with that about the airway stuff a few times, to where I already said a lot of things are working against me right now, sensory shit. So it's decreasing my ability to like put up with stuff that normally I can deal with. And I wasn't mean, because luckily this all happening in email.
Right.
This wasn't in person. So like I was about to get real mad today.
No, and I get that. Well, and two, I think one of those things is, for me, it is like you're trying to go into this, and there's no way you wouldn't be asking about it if you didn't have some kind of idea of it already. But starting it off with like, well, what makes you think you have autism is so immediately in the defensive position, or puts you in a position where you feel, and I don't know how much of that is because as I mentioned in previous episodes, I'm a pushover. So I immediately like, I know that made you mad. That activated my anxiety immediately. So, and they're like, so what do you, what makes you think you have autism? I mean, I just like my go-to that I wanted to go to immediately was like, you're probably right. That was a weird thing to say. You know what? I didn't even mean to call Kaiser. I was trying to get Domino's. Like that is, and by the way, it's taken a lot of time and self-work in my life not to be like that anymore. So then to call and then have that do, and first of all, it's insane to me that I wrote an email and then they're like, yeah, we could set that up. Just give you a call. And I'm like, what part of the medications that you have prescribed me screams this man wants to make a phone call to you? But yeah, it does. It puts you in a defensive position, and different people are going to react to being defensive or needing to be defensive differently. But yeah, I forgot about that until you brought it up. How dare you? No,
yeah. Well, trigger warning. There was a point that I needed to make. It's not just a throwaway. It's a very vulnerable, as you were saying. So now that I'm doing it myself, like I already know advocating for myself is difficult. It's gotten slightly easier with the uptick in self-esteem. But there was another situation that happened at work. My name profile, I had to write a blurb about myself, and that's on the website. I wrote my name as Annie there. It was changed to Miss. I'm not going to say my last name on the air because I just don't want to. But it was written in like that. And it's just so fucking triggering to me. Like, why do women specifically have to change from Miss to Mrs., change their name, period, but also use that? Like, no, I am Zanny, period. Cher can do it.
Yeah.
I use my name. It is not professional sounding to me, whatever. And it took a lot for me to even bring that up. And it brought me to tears the first time, because it's just hard to say, and no one that I know even would be like, I knew it was a mistake, or like something that was not done to, they weren't thinking about that in those terms,
Right.
But it meant a lot to me, and I did speak up, and it was worth it. It was changed right away, and it was obviously, an apology was made, like, and I knew that would happen. It's still hard to do.
I have gone embarrassingly long amounts of time letting people call me Ron, which is not a name I like. I don't feel like a Ron. I mean, part of that is, that's my dad's name. I am Ronald Frederick Ursenbach Jr.
That's a lot of names.
Very long, very German name. But I felt like a Ronnie. And I've had people like tell me and argue with me that like, well, at one point you're going to have to drop the Ronnie and go by Ron or Ronald because it's just not very professional.
Who cares?
And what the fuck is professional anyway? Of like,
and that shit's changing.
Yeah.
I am what the C-suite looks like now, people.
I looks
sit
like?
there, the C-suite.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
CEO, CFO,
Oh, okay.
CDO.
I've never heard that term before.
It's new to me too, trust.
Is COO in there too?
Any of the C's, chief, whatever.
Nice.
It's a chief club. I'm a chief.
Nice.
That sounds weird to say.
I know. I know. Now we're about to start getting into like sports teams racism territory. We'll back off from it. The C club. That sounds.
C club. Yeah. C-suite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like this was not a goal, but like, you know, but like this is what we look like. I'm 40. People are not trying to put on a suit and tie every day, and that is professional. As I already said, I try to push the bar as low as I can. You know, I don't believe dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Right.
I always want to wear workout pants. I always want to wear a sports bra and like a comfy hoodie or something. And this is half sweatshirt. You probably can't tell if you're watching this. It looks leatherish.
But you can tell if you're listening, I think.
Oh, I think so too.
They can hear it in your voice that your arms are very comfortable.
My arms are so comfortable and my torso vest area is just not. Anyway, but like I love to dress so comfortable.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? I want to be a yoga teacher? No. So I don't believe in that. That's old way of thinking. I am very newer school when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because I definitely know that I look put together also. And that's something that is an underlying like, professional thing. Like I've had staff in the past who look like they just got out of bed. And not in like the chic way. I guess there's some version of reality where it looks cool. Like I do think if I ever had long hair, a messy bun would be fun. But my hair is just a messy bun anyway. It's very thin and fine. And
you have the floppy hair.
I got floppy hair.
I like floppy hair. I think it's cool.
Same. I mean, I rock it.
I always feel so weird because I guess this is the problem. I really like that haircut on femme presenting folk. So much so that I'm like, I should do that haircut. But it wouldn't have that effect on my more mask presenting self. Like I just feel like if I got it, I know a few people that have very similar hairstyle to yours, and I'm like, that's so cool. And then I was like, but if I do it, it would just it wouldn't give the same vibe. And so now I harbor a deep-seated hatred and jealousy of your hair.
Okay, well,
you as a person I like though, but your hair, and I'm not saying your hair is bad. I'm saying it's my enemy.
It's a reflection of you somehow.
Yeah,
and it represents everything you can't be in your head.
Yeah,
which it is what it is.
Yeah,
there is a certain minor level of upkeep. I require a good haircut and strong lipstick because I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to actually spend time on my hair. I don't want to spend time on my face. I hate getting ready. I like looking presentable and the way that I conceptualize that. And there's no way around it sometimes. So anyway, strong haircut, bold lip. And then I can do anything. This has definitely lifted my mood. And I wouldn't even have said that I was in a bad mood before. It's just like so much is happening in here. Anyway.
Right.
You said flooding. It doesn't resonate 100% with me, but it's more along the lines of just like completely oversaturated with just like stuff. And I just feel like I'm in a stupor, but I'm also in a forward trajectory. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe I'm speaking a little manically, to be honest. Possibly. It's fine.
We'll see.
So level of irritation. I'm on the lower end of my spectrum between excitement and irritation. Like this is just where I am.
My good friend editor Ronnie will figure it out.
Okay, great. Thanks, editor Ronnie. Future Ronnie has a task ahead of himself.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really come up with a ton of challenges because I feel like the world already likes to tell us how much we suck at everything and why we can't do stuff. So,
right.
I mean, there are definitely challenges. I talked a lot about what mine were today.
Right.
And the thing is, if I didn't say it out loud, I don't think anyone at work would even have known. Even if I was viscerally experiencing these things as I was. I've made a decision and I can't unflip the switch to say it out loud now.
Right.
Which I think is ultimately endearing and fosters understanding, if nothing else. And I'm not just saying, understand me. And, that's not the whole thing. It's just like, so much is going on for so many people.
Right.
And I feel like just my personality style, I feel like I can bring words to things and just kind of like create like a safe space if other people want to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's all. Right. Things aren't just super simple. And I just don't like the idea that like ableism rules all.
Yeah. Well, and too, I was going to say, I know on my end of things, I worked a clerical job, just an office clerical job, bottom of the, I was going to say totem pole, but I don't think
Barrel?
That's a thing we should say anymore.
No,
I mean, that was the words I was going to say, but then as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, I don't know the replacement for them, but that's the idea. Bottom of the barrel sounds like you need to, or you need to turn your life around. No, but I was working that because I was, building my first movie company after school or after work. And so that was just something I did to pay the bills
to be a minion anyway.
for a long time. And I remember like some of the things that were like things that didn't make sense really bothered me. And one of them was there was a dress code where I worked of we had to wear slacks and button-up shirts. So business casual, I guess you'd call it.
Sounds business.
And
I don't know when this was, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like no ties. You didn't have to wear a tie, or maybe people who made more money
is
than
what
me.
tips it over for me. I'm like, casual business,
right? Mm-hmm. And so, but like, and honestly, I didn't even mind wearing it.
It didn't feel weird, since like...
it's very weird. I don't. It felt weird to me because I am used to the clothes that I wear. I wear jeans every single day. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, jean material doesn't bother you. I'm like, no, I've worn them every day, literally for like my entire, adult life and probably into my high school career.
Yeah.
Wearing shoes that weren't high tops, my ankles just felt like they could just... like total fucking anarchists, my ankles, when they're not in high tops. They're just like, I feel like they're just flopping all over the place. So that was a little weird. Although eventually I just started wearing my high tops.
Now that's cool and professional.
Yeah. But like the thing that bothered me was like, I get it. You want, you walk into a place, you want people to think of a certain... But I was like, we're a fucking call center. What? We talk to people on the phone. We are the only people that see, like literally nobody else sees us here. Why are we dressed like this? Nobody likes it. And that's why I said like the dressing like that itself didn't bother me, but the reasoning behind it was deeply upsetting to me. Especially because we had Casual Friday, which I appreciated. Also, luckily I knew enough. Casual means different things to different folks. But like, I was like, but like, we know already because we've seen Casual Friday. So we know we could just dress like that every day. Nothing goes wrong on Fridays when that happens. And so that very much bothered me. Also, like, people would sometimes make fun of me is the wrong word, but like point out in a humorous way, of like, man, like, cause my work day ended at 4:30 and it's like, man, by like 4:30, it never even hits 4:31. At 4:30, you're clocked out. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, but that's when my job ends. So that's when I clock out. And they're like, well, don't you want, it was like, oh, you're just waiting for that to happen. And I was like, I mean, like,
sort of.
Yeah, but that's not even like I hate being here or anything. Wasn't hugely fond of it, but it was work. It was a thing I did for money. But like, I was like, why? I don't understand why you're not clocking out at 4:30.
From a labor law perspective, I hope everyone clocks out when they clock out.
Yeah. Well, and even that, or like they would clock out and hang out and talk a little bit. And I don't know. And it wasn't that I disliked my coworkers. I enjoyed my coworkers. But it always felt very segmented to me of like, oh, like even stuff like, oh, we're going out after work. And I'm like, you guys have fun with that. That's not what I have my life built to do, is to continue to do the work thing after work.
That seems more along the ASD lines, and that actually came up in the stuff that I was looking at. The disconnect of like the social reciprocity stuff. Like I can do it very well. It is very cringy to me to do pointless small talk. I hate birthday celebrations, mine or other people, like, just for the sake, like, right. I could do without all of the things that people actually enjoy about going to an office for the most part. Like, the celebrations of it makes things fun for people. I just want to go and I want to work and I want to be all done. And I want to be on my own schedule too. Like I don't know. But people really enjoy the extra things. It makes it worth it for them. And I just, there's just a different motivation for me, and always has been. But now that I'm at an office now, going on 3 years exclusively, it's just next level. Like I don't know why people have this as a goal. Right. But many people do, and that's totally fine. And I'm making it work for me. Right. And I'm hitting a major challenge right now, but it was a big transition. But let's talk about those things in a little bit. Okay. The challenges that I've wanted to just mention. Sure. Yeah. We are out of the box thinkers in a boxed world. Like that's how it is. And that's not actually viewed as an asset in most situations. Right. And then the constant necessity for masking, which we've already talked about masking and how just to navigate life, there's a lot that has to go on, and that extends to work, and that just leads to increased stress, anxiety, and depression because of it. It's all just like soul crushing. Right. And so those are, they cover, I think those are umbrellas for other challenges. We don't need to delineate every single challenge. We're you and I are pretty well aware. Other people, I mean, if you're on this episode by now, you've probably listened to the rest of them too. So you've kind of gotten to know us a bit.
If not, welcome.
Yeah. If not, welcome. Come back. Go back and listen to everything. But I don't like to focus on all the things that are wrong. Not at least in this segment. I just gave you a whole laundry list of everything that was not right. Right. For me right now. But yeah. So like, we actually have a lot of assets and things to bring to the table. It's just like the structure of work isn't set up for that. Like I made that little joke about, school turning you into a worker bee, but that's what schools are for. It's not just to make you learn stuff. It's just like you need to learn the format of going somewhere, sitting down, having a routine, following directions, not really towing out of the line. Our lives, we're not raised, most people anyway. Some people who are like homeschooled, or with the very specific intent of like not raising people who are, just like going for the, what do they call it?
Like factory jobs?
There's a saying.
Oh, now it's going to bother me. Manufacturing? I don't know.
No, I don't know. It's probably something
blue collar, white collar.
We're getting farther away. No, some kind, maybe it is the factory line, but that doesn't seem right. But anyway, but like building you for that.
Right. Well, and that's one of my favorite things I've ever heard. I was listening to a guy who was a specialist in, I believe, public education, but in education in general. And I can't remember his name right now, but I think he passed away a few years ago. But one of the things he said, which I kind of believe, just talking about, because there is that learning routines, obviously socialization, those are all important points of going to school. But especially as you go further along, the problem is that we are still treating our education system like we're in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. Like we're sending our kids off to the factory all to do the same thing. And whoever could do that same thing the best is going to be the most successful in the long run. When really the world has, and the job marketplace is just so diversified, which is what we want. We want a million different jobs. I would love it if everybody got to do the thing they wanted to do for a living. But that's, I would argue, or I would back this person's argument that that's kind of one of the problems about school is we are still kind of, especially when you get into like high school years and stuff like that, the real preparation that we're doing to send people into is this kind of factory mentality of being a cog in a machine and doing that. And I don't think that's good for us as a society. I don't think it's good for our general happiness. And I could definitely see where that is not doing, unless you are very lucky enough to have your particular neurospiciness line up with being able to effectively do those tasks. That way of thinking is not doing any favors to our siblings in the neurodiverse community.
Mm-hmm. I got real lucky with that stuff because academics have always come extremely easy to me. With minimal studying. In high school, I don't remember doing anything other than homework, and I did that at school for the most part. I mean, I procrastinated and stuff along the lines of like projects and stuff, because it's still non-preferred tasks, but it's more of like the compulsion to finish and be able to have my free time was the main factor. I didn't struggle with homework for 5 hours because I was stuck on 3 problems, and like I didn't run into that. Right. I've seen that a lot as like I was a babysitter and then like a full-on nanny, and then working with people in their homes doing ABA and stuff. So I've seen it from many different windows, I guess you could say. And I feel very fortunate that school comes so easily. Like even like my master's and all the way through, like I didn't finish the doctorate, but like academic courses, like, my brain I love learning. My master's was super easy because super fascinated by how people's like brains and how they work relationally. It was really easy to take all the tests, all the, rubrics are there. People don't use rubrics often, but like you can't not get an A if you hit all these points. Like there's just no way to not do, like anyway. So like
a term that our producer Robin uses a lot, pattern recognition.
Yes. Yes. Very good at it. Very good at school. So like I also got things done super fast because that's also how it has worked for me. And so I did get in trouble a lot, in elementary, middle, high school for talking and distracting other people who maybe weren't done. I don't know. Because like I'm not antisocial at all. No. I don't know. I just liked talking to people and I was bored. This was high school. There were no phones with games. Like
someone doesn't remember Snake.
Okay, but that was after high school. Yeah. No one, like, having a cell phone wasn't a thing, really. Like, you could have them. My mom had one. I borrowed her sometimes. Like, it just wasn't how it is now.
I think that was still at the age or at the time when you could get made fun of for having a cell phone. Like if you had a cell phone, it's like, what are you, a fucking doctor?
Yeah.
So fucking important. Look at you, got the cell phone.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if this is true for you too, but we're a little bit too young for beepers. Like we just had nothing.
Yeah.
And that was fine. You know, I feel like people who are in their 20s now.
Yeah.
School just looked very different for them, you know, like I worked with a lot of clients like in high schools and just walking around and seeing everyone with a fucking earbud in during an instruction. And like teachers, you know, this is a big problem. They can't take possession of someone's property like that. You know, not only are they expensive little tiny pieces of metal, but also, are they even metal? They're like baby computers. Anyway, there's also like things are so much more litigious now. Do that to the wrong kid, you know, and you've got a lawsuit versus, you know, a $1,200 cell phone problem.
Right. Well, and too, a flip side of that too is like I've seen stories before of a kid carried his cell phone around, and some jerk ass teacher, and like I know maybe not there's jerk ass teachers, there's bad teachers out there. I am not one of those you're a teacher automatically you're one of the best people in the world. Sorry, Kristen, my little sister.
I mean, my mom is a retired teacher too.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there aren't good teachers. There are definitely teachers that have changed my life in a measurable and meaningful way. But not every teacher is a good teacher, and there's definitely a lot, there's definitely bad ones out there. And so like I saw this story about, you know, a kid who kept a cell phone on them, and the teacher took it away. And he's like, I have that because my mom's in the army and she's in Afghanistan, and I don't know when I'm going to get that call. And they're like, 0 tolerance, and took it away. And then he missed that call from his mom. And you never know how valuable that's going to be. And I'm not saying that's the case for every single one of them, but it's, you know, but this technology is a new thing that we are learning every day on how to deal with.
And I can only imagine how frustrating. I have no desire to be a teacher. My mom is a retired teacher. She is she is right now to 40%. She's like a reading specialist. I also agree. Not every teacher is automatically amazing. And I used to think like that. And then I had a client in a class, and it was the first time it was glaringly obvious. I was like, this teacher is fucking with these kids' time. These are 8th graders in like a mild moderate class. So they're on graduation track, you know, with the diploma.
Yeah.
These kids are not being set up for success for the next school year. I have some major issues with how this is going. Like, how are these kids going to be able to, you know, I've been in a lot of, you know, mild, moderate classes, and generally very academic, you know, because it's just like a slightly different pace, but still learning all the same things as, you know, the kids in gen ed classes, you know. So I was very alarmed. And unfortunately, this school was in the part of town that, you know, no one's really going to notice. Right. And that's what fucking sucks too.
Yeah.
Because you can't get away with that stuff, you know, in certain other neighborhoods. Yeah. And I was like, this is just like a huge injustice. And like, this person is very nice. I am very concerned.
Right.
Yeah. And I, you know, teaching is hard. And I can only imagine, you know, looking at your entire class and everyone has these earbuds in. Demoralizing, you know. I've had a lot of really great teachers. I've also had some shitty teachers. Like one teacher, like, and when I was in 11th grade, would like give me like massage and tell me I need to loosen up and get a sense of humor. And I just, I went to the administration and I asked to get out of the class, and they did that.
That's so yucky.
It is yucky. And I didn't solve the bigger problem, but at least I was believed, you know. Looking back, I didn't have a frame of reference for not being believed.
Right.
And looking back, I was like, this could have gone really poorly.
Yeah.
They did something. They didn't fix it, but they fixed it for me.
Yeah.
So it is yucky. And that, I didn't learn shit in that class anyway. It was a free-for-all. But that's probably why. I mean,
it is very strange to me that I will say, and I'll call out by name, Miss Wilson, easily the greatest teacher I ever had. She taught me that I do have a voice when writing, and particularly for someone who was so, and we've mentioned this before, it seems weird now me doing 2 podcasts and things like that, but who was just so earth-shatteringly shy and wouldn't talk, and that some kids thought I was mute, and to show me that I had a voice in any way, shape, or form. It was amazing. But I've also had teachers that made, like poked fun at my social anxiety in front of a classroom. And that did as much damage. And honestly, the vast majority of my teachers, I just don't remember, because it was just a class. They were there doing their job. I was there doing my social thing that I was supposed to do at that time, which was learn and get grades. And yeah, although I think we may have shifted the topic a little onto education at this point.
But I mean, they're kind of related.
Oh, for sure.
And that's how this tangent began. And honestly, like, we don't have to talk about any of this stuff because I feel like we've covered a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are lots of things we bring to the table. Should we just... All right. So, consensus is we make this a 2-parter. It is... Your ears are probably tired, listeners,
I know.
already. And we haven't really gotten into the actual, like...
the meat of it.
Yes. So stay tuned for next week.
I feel like this is the masking episode, but we're doing better. Like, we mostly stayed on topic. We just...
But we did talk about masking a lot.
We did.
So,
we're just...
yeah. Stay tuned for next time. We'll get into like more of the nitty gritty about, career things as far as being a neuro-D and, some of
maybe, I know, like, I think I've mentioned on here before, I ran my own business for a little while. I also work independently, now. But I have to different degrees, and I think there's some cool stuff to talk about that from a neuro-D perspective.
For sure. I mean, I haven't even gotten into my work history, but like,
that's right.
It's an interesting trajectory, and finding myself in an office is not where I thought it would be. So getting into all of that kind of stuff, I had very ADHD friendly jobs until being put in a box. So, so if you like what you heard, you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at InnerMoxiePod. You can email us anything you would like to say to us. myinnermoxiepod@gmail.com. Also, you could please like, rate, subscribe, 5 stars, por favor. Very much, please, pretty please. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Zanism, Zannism. I am a religion and a disease, always.
Oh, I like adding the always at the end. That's a good touch.
Thank you.
I'll add on to your list of asks of our amazing audience. Tell a friend. If you like it, tell a friend. That's always very helpful. And if you'd like to hear more of me, there's my other podcast, the Band Media Podcast. Also, I am all over social media, but where I'm most active is on TikTok at Band Ronnie.
Yep. And now we say, stay fresh, cheese bags. Come back again. Bye.
Later.